Hello and welcome to Motivation and Money for our third episode. I'm Mark Terrell from the Reluctant Leader Academy, and
Uh,
that
um,
that
yeah.
is Fanny Smith.
Fanny Slade, certified money coach. Lovely to be here. Lovely to see you
Yes,
again, Mark.
good
We
stuff. So the
feel
first three episodes, sorry, the first two episodes, we talked about motivation, talked about my model last time. So
yeah,
on this episode, even we're going to be talking more about money, about your model, Fanny.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
how that works and how people sort of get a bit sort of flummoxed by money, and it's an interesting subject. So looking forward to diving into this. If
okay,
you are joining us, then feel free to ask questions, leave comments. We can bring them on screen, and we'll answer them if we can. And if you catch this on replay, we'll obviously do the same.
yeah.
Right. So, Fanny, where should we start with your stuff, your model?
Well, why don't we start with the elephant in the room? In the fact that even though sense a wave of new attention being paid to our money, like it's popular now, right? In very many circles, to start talking about our personal finance, to get better with money. Women are becoming more savvy with money. We still, even though that's brilliant, we still have a long way to go. And for many of us, still the whole idea of money is still the elephant in the room. And we would still prefer to talk about sex or death than talk about money, which is crazy,
Right.
right? Because every single day we are using money. Every time we turn a light on, we're using money. Every time we go in the car, every time we put some clothes on, every time we eat something, every time we put the tap on, we're using money. And yet at school, we are not taught about very basic financial literacy. Um, we're slightly starting to now, and it's a subject that tends to be avoided and is basically has so much emotion attached to it that it's just quite uncomfortable. So I think really the first thing that I like to say to people as a money coach is to accept that we are all a little bit weird when it comes to money.
Hmm. I
I
think
don't
it's
know
interesting
anybody.
what you just said there. We're not really taught about money at school. We're taught maths. But that's not money, is it? That's the money is more emotive, isn't it? We get sort of wrapped up in the emotion of money, don't we?
Well, if I can prove a couple of points here, which are sort of like disproves it, okay? So I am a money coach. I've been a money coach now for the last 6 years. I've been interested in money and wealth for many years. In fact, my interest in wealth started when I was 10 years old, when my family lost all our money, right? All apart from 76 quid. And I set an intention at 10 years old as a very angry young person that when I grew up, I was never going to be beholden to anybody and I was going to become a millionaire. And I had no plan, I had no strategy. I just knew that that's what I was going to do. I was determined because I was so cross with how irresponsible the adults had been around me. Now, as I went through school, I didn't get a GCSE in maths. I didn't pass my maths O level. I got a grade 2. So without this, I'm sunk, completely sunk. My sister is exactly the same. She was really had a block when it came to maths, but she's now a money teacher, a maths teacher, and I am now a money coach and have, reached certain goals and dreams that I always wanted to just from my intention. And what I found is that the whole subject of money tends to cause angst and misery for many people, but all of that pretty much is housed in the brain. And actually, if we were to accept that 80% of being good with money is to do with our mindset, and actually only 20% is down to actually being able to do it on a physical level, because it's not difficult to manage our money. And most people have the ability to manage their money. It's actually what's going on between our ears that stops us doing it. So the way that I like to approach it is, so another way, the way I approached my money growing up was actually with a little bit of misery. And when I did actually hit the seventh digit on my net worth, it didn't make me happy. And both Neil and I looked at each other and thought, oh my goodness, we've done all of this and actually it's a bit miserable. So I am hell bent on helping my customers to have an exciting financial adventure rather than like a bothersome burden, which is pretty much how it was for me. And I know it can be done because I've trained to do so. So the way that my model works is we're going on a financial adventure. And on any adventure, the model says you need to have a destination, a map where you're going to go, a compass, and you need to be fit and you need to be motivated. And today we're going to focus on the fit and the motivated bit. The map is doing some kind of budget or spending plan, or a money map, as I call it. Your compass is your tracking, making sure that you're keeping on track. And your destination comes very much with your mindset, because you need to be able to think about where you want to go from a place of abundance rather than a place of lack. So we sort of those, you can really start anywhere with those 4 things when you're on your adventure. But focusing on the mindset thing, if we're going on our adventure, let's say, for instance, we're going on a bus, right? So we're going on a bus, and there was a fantastic quote by a lady called Ayn Rand where she said, money is simply a tool. It will take you wherever you wish to go, but it will not replace you as the driver. So when I did my training at the Money Coaching Institute, they introduced me to 8 money types, which are a bit like the Jungian archetypes, with a difference in the fact that rather than you being told what your money personality is, I really don't hold with that at all. What we're looking at is we're going to say that the 8 different money types are the passengers on this bus. And what we want to try and do is get the right ones at the wheel. Right? So if I quickly just introduce you to the 8 money types. So the 8 money types are the innocent, the victim, the warrior, the martyr, the fool, the creator artist, the tyrant, and the magician. So they're 8 characters who all behave very differently when it comes to money. Now, it's worth stating here very clearly, like with the money personalities, the money types are not who you are, they are where you are. So on my website, I have a money type quiz, and you tick a load of words on there, and it will give you a percentage of how each one is showing up in your life. And many people do the quiz, and in order to have an active money type, you need to have more than 50%. And many people do the quiz and they go, yeah, but Fanny, your quiz is rubbish because I haven't got any active money types. And I say to them, so who is driving your financial life then? How's it working out for you? And they're like going, I don't know.
No focus.
Exactly. So maybe no focus at all. Some people will go, I am totally fearful of money. I want to put my head in the sand. I really wish somebody would come along and do it for me. I'm absolutely rubbish with money. I'm just about to start saving something, and then I go out and blow it for some reason, and I don't really know why, and money just seems to fall through my fingers. They are very likely to have an active innocent and an active fool. By the way, that's the best combination to work with. That's my ideal combination to work with.
Right.
So the innocent and the fool will be driving their financial bus. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to do this. And I just think I'm going to put my head in the sand. Right. And then the fool comes along and goes, don't worry, love. We've just been paid. Let's go and blow it. Right.
Sounds great.
So
Fun.
Exactly. So they'll be having that conversation. So my job as a money coach is to try and encourage the person I'm coaching when we're on this financial adventure to get the magician and the warrior at the wheel. Magician holding on, but the warrior to the side. So the warrior is the money type of action, and who's going to, be on it, learn about finances, look at budgets, have goals and dreams and aspirations and all that kind of stuff. And the magician is going to be the one who is there in faith, trust, and balance. That lovely, confident sense around them that they know that if you're going to basically show up doing the right thing, being discerning, being spiritual, open to flow, having self-trust in yourself, that everything's going to turn out all right. Whereas the other ones, Not going to help you at all. The innocent, head in the sand. Oh, yeah, but it all looks okay. But no, actually, I'm racked up with guilt and anxiety inside. The victim, everything happens to me. I've tried everything. I'm always unlucky. All this kind of stuff. The martyr, well, if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it, and always looking after other people more than looking after themselves, and gets a little bit resentful, perfectionism creeping in there, resentment, all that kind of stuff. Still got a nice side as well, but that's going to hold them back. Fool, not doing your due diligence. Everything's like a great new experience, great new deal. Let's get on with that. It's not really going to work. The creator artist is the one that's going to say, well, I don't, when there's all these starving people in the earth and the world, I'm not sure I really deserve to charge that amount of money, or, money's not really that important to me, all those kind of stuff. So back to the financial adventure, you've got your 8 passengers on the bus that are showing up every now and again, taking the wheel. But if we're going to live our life, our financial life on purpose, if we want to go on a good financial adventure and have got any chance of getting to our chosen destination, we want to have the warrior and the magician at the wheel. So that's the model.
Very interesting. Did you mention the tyrant? What was that?
No, I didn't. So the tyrant's very
Just to prove I was listening.
You were. The tyrant was the one that showed up in my life, right? So it was like, I started off as the warrior going, I'm going to be financially successful. I'm going to do this and da 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 da. But what happened as I went along the way was that I started to get maybe a little bit greedy. And when people around me, namely my husband, who wasn't really very well on board. Well, of course, I was going to choose a man who wasn't very interested in money, wasn't I? Because I was going to be the controller of it all. I was the one that was in charge. So the tyrant is the one that's going to say, there's never enough, there's never enough, there's ever going to have more, 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 keep it going, keep it going. And that ends up then in a bit of secrecy and a little bit of control, being a bit controlling, etc. Mm-hmm. But what the tyrant really, really is after is not what money can buy. The tyrant is after losing the fear of it all being taken away, and actually not putting so much importance to money. It's not the be all and end all. Money isn't going to solve all your problems.
Right.
So that's the tyrant. And I have to say, recognize that one quite strongly.
I suppose it's about being honest about which one is your sort of, what would you say, that your current archetype, or, where you are at the moment? Well,
yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm learning about cryptocurrency at the moment, like seriously.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting in front of Coinbase Pro or another one of these platforms, my innocent comes out to a certain extent, because it's like going, oh my God, what am I going to press? I don't know how to do this. I have no idea what I'm doing with this. Yeah. And then I bring the warrior in and go, tell you what, love, go and take your seat at the back of the bus, have a coffee and go and text some mates. I'll take over because I'm actually pretty good at this. So then I'll be able to approach the whole thing with curiosity again. Right. So how do we work this out? And just approach it from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. A couple of things have popped into my head. Firstly, The Motley Fool. Is that still about? I used to read that a lot. Is that that's still a thing?
Yeah, and they send some really nice personal finance email once a week as well.
Yeah. Really good. I used to subscribe to that and read quite a lot, actually. Just something that crossed my mind. And so let's go back to, you mentioned your husband. So you're both quite money savvy. You've always been that way, and you've got a combined plan. Do you work together, or is it a sort of, how does that work?
No, for years. Well, when I do all the investing, and that's completely my bag. He sort of occasionally comes and looks over my shoulder and sort of goes, what you're doing, but it's not really his thing. So when we were doing the investing, etc., and when we finally did get to the financial goal that I had set at 10 years old, before obviously I'd even met him, I said to him, Neil, we've done it. And he looked at me and he goes, well, it hasn't really got anything to do with me, has it? I was like, oh my God, no flags, no whistles, no bunting out, no nothing. So nowadays, We both use Money Dashboard. We both bank with Starling. So we have a joint account with Starling, and Starling, we love it because it's got the current account and you can have the spaces around the edge. So you can, we can put money into Money for Christmas now, and we can put money aside for car insurance now, and all that kind of stuff. So we have a joint bank account with that. We both put money into it. As far as financial goals, we sit down and we do have money meetings. Our relationship with money, we've nearly come to divorce on a number of occasions, purely to do with money. That was one of the reasons why I became a money coach, because I needed to do something about that. Next week is our 22nd wedding anniversary. So that's quite cool. It can always get better, but it's amazingly much better than it ever was. And the most important thing is that when we do run into a bit of a moment, we're able to go, right, so we need to sit down and we need to talk about this before it gets any worse. And it's completely open, and it's a very, very open discussion.
That's good. Excellent. Yeah. My mate Steve's made a comment.
Hello, Steve.
Motley Fool, great info. Fellow motivational practitioner, and we share the same birthday as well, actually.
Yay!
Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting one there, because when the dynamics with who you're living with regards to money it's important to be on the same page, because when from where I am, I'm I suppose what you call business owner, entrepreneur, whatever. But I live with someone who has always been in the NHS, has had that in his in her so world. She's always been in that, and so my world is very different to hers. And when we think about how we make decisions and when we spend money on things like holidays and all those sort of things, we come at it from a completely different sort of perspective. But we've got similar values. That's the important thing. But we don't do what you said. We don't really sort of have money conversations, but we just think about, can we afford it? Do we want to go back to the same place again, or should we find somewhere different to go, with all those sort of things?
I think one of the most useful things because when I'm coaching couples, because I do couples coaching as well, the most important things about couples, and this is something that Neil and I found really useful, is that when you write your money stories and you think about what kind of environment you were in as a child around money, what were you seeing, hearing, observing, experiencing, all that kind of stuff. That's so important. It's really important, because if you think about the fact that actually everything that happens before the age of 7 is pretty much just accepted as the truth in the little human brain, like a little sponge sucking everything up. Those are the things that plant the seeds of the beliefs that we have when we get to adults. Those beliefs that we just repeat over and over and over again. And actually, we have to become conscious and aware of them in order to do that pattern interrupt. In order to say, actually, no, that doesn't have to be like that anymore. We can change this. And the conversations that Neil and I had about the early life, and he came from poles apart, our backgrounds when it came to money and our upbringing. But actually, even though they were poles apart, there were similarities in the fact that we conquered similar things, and we'd managed to escape certain scenarios that, even though they were very different, they're sort of the same. And I think it's important for every couple to have a conversation about money, but not about money. So not money, but not to mention bills and how much you earn and how much it is, to actually have it about the topic, not the nitty gritty. To actually think about how our minds work when it comes to money, what we believe, what we don't believe, and all that kind of thing.
It's interesting what you said about. I mean, my growing up, I was very much in that you don't get anything unless you did something for money. So I was always one that had to do do things to get my pocket money, and then I went on to do 2 paper rounds. So I always had to do something to earn it. Nothing really was ever given to me, and I suppose that's something that's ingrained in me. I don't ever feel as if I should get something unless I've done something for it. But whether that's right or wrong, that's another thing, isn't it? When money comes easy, sometimes you feel a bit uncomfortable when that happens.
Well, that's the thing to work on, right? Because all this, I mean, everything, if you have a circumstance that is a situation that's happened, that you could go into a court of law and say, this is a fact that happened, state the fact, it only becomes good and bad when we attach an opinion to it.
Yeah.
So that's a matter of opinion in the first place. And actually, it's about how you feel about it. So, you know, when you talk about you had to do things to get money, I had a good story with my dad. My dad left when I was 1. So we weren't particularly close. In fact, I didn't really meet him very many times before I was 18 at all. However, we were when I was a little bit older, sort of coming up to 18, I was able to ask him for like 10 quid here, 20 quid there and all that. Just say, please, can I have it? And he'd put it in my bank account. And I was a bit embarrassed doing this. And so I came up with this really bright idea when I was at college. I was probably, 17, 18. And I came up with this bright idea that I'd ask him for £1,000 instead of asking him for the little itty bitty amounts that I'd asked him about before. And I said, so Daddy, can I borrow £1,000? And he said, yes, you can. So he said, but you have to pay me back the £846.23 that you already owe me. Because of course he'd written it all down, right? He'd written it all down. Yeah, that was his thing. He wrote everything down. Mum was a spender. He'd write everything down, literally all in columns and everything. And I was like, whoa. And I said, but I don't have £846.23. He said, I know. And I went, oh. I said, so how am I going to do that? He goes, I don't know. But if I lend you £1,000, then you're going to owe me £1,846.23. So I went away with my tail firmly between my legs. I paid back the £846.23 as quickly as was humanly possible, probably with a lot of shame attached to it as well. However, it taught me a good lesson on how to manage my money, and it also helped me realize as to how quickly I could generate money when I really wanted to.
Right, and I suppose the lesson there is to establish when someone gives you money, whether it's given it to you or whether it's on loan. Establishing that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, I have many and I've done many a video on whether you should lend money to family and friends and all that kind of stuff. You know,
it's tricky,
you know,
isn't it? We've got Russ that's joined us. He's saying hi both. Hi Russ, good to see you.
Ribbit.
Hopefully see you on Thursday.
Yeah, I hope you're better.
Yeah, let's hope so. Looks like, well, he's listened to this. Surely he must be better. I mean, you've got to be in fine fettle to listen to this, haven't you?
Well, I don't know.
And Steve's mentioned that he likes crypto, he loves crypto, and he's got a go-to guru for crypto.
Oh, do you? Who is your go-to guru, Steve? I'd love to know.
Or will he let it out of the bag? Will he share it? If he's, we'll have to see. So it's interesting, the crypto thing at the moment, isn't it? What I like about what you do, Fanny, is that you give information, you share and help people with money, but you don't try and sell them a financial product, do you? And that's, let's just talk about that, because I have this thing about, I mean, I've had not my fingers burnt or whatever it is, but it had people that have given me advice, and it turns out actually they give me the advice what actually is most lucrative for them, and it feels really horrible, doesn't it? You know, at the time they weren't saying that they were going to make this amount out of me. They were just what I thought they would give me good advice, but I'm not sure whether they did. So finding the right people to give you advice is a tricky one, isn't it?
I don't believe, personally, my view is when it comes to money, you need to keep your own power.
Right.
So whoever you speak to, whoever you go to with advice, and I understand that some people go, look, I'm just not interested in it. Money is not high on my list of values, but I know I need to look after it, and I know I need to be sensible with it. Okay, fine. Pretty much accepted that if wealth is not in, say, your top 5 core values, you will not get wealthy. However, my view would be, if you're thinking about that you want nice holidays and you want a nice car and you want to live in a particular kind of house, then that is all to do with wealth. So we need to work on your core values to actually link that to it. But handing your power to somebody financially is just crazy. If I have one more person asking me to come to a webinar around how you can make 15% a week in crypto with something like Cash FX or Hyperverse, which used to be Hyperfund, which are basically long-term, long-running Ponzi schemes, I am going to scream. But this is people who are giving their money to people who are saying that they're doing this various things to it, but essentially You are handing your money over. You're handing your power to somebody else. Now, I'm also going to make a confession in the fact that I'm talking about this coming from a place of I have actually fallen for one of these things before. So I have lost money with something called Mirror Trading International, and I also was involved in a hideous company called USI Tech. So I know what I'm talking about, but it really gets me that people just want to go in, make a quick buck, and have all these promises. And yes, money gets dumped into your bank account for a certain amount of time, and then eventually what will happen is that you'll turn your computer on and everything will be gone. And that's a certainty, right? It's not, it will happen one day. I'm not going to say when it's going to happen. And up until that time, you're going to invite all your friends to come. This is amazing. I've made so much money. I'm going on holiday because of the profit to this amazing thing. Yes, you are. But it's dirty money. So when you're talking about advice, there are many, many wonderful financial advisors out there. You just have to try and find the right one out there that you trust. My own personal view of when I'm trying to help people, I'm not allowed to sell people financial products because I'm not a financial advisor. I pride myself that I'm not a financial advisor, but I am happy to show anybody my portfolio of investments, what I am doing and what I have done in order to build my wealth over the last 20, 30 odd years. I'm very, very transparent with what I have, what I don't have, how it's working for me. I could have done it so much better, but etc., etc. We carry on learning. So I think that's the only way that I try to be as authentic as possible, by just being completely open and transparent.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on sort of pensions. My dad was very anti-pensions. He wouldn't allow us to put any money into pensions because he didn't think that tying your money up or giving your money to somebody else was a good thing to do. He felt that you should keep hold of it, invest it, so that you ever wanted it, you get your hands on it. Now that was going back a few years when pensions weren't as flexible as they are now, mind. So, I'm not giving advice here. I'm just saying that was just something that was said to me time and time and time again. And in the end, I did put some money into a pension, but then I lost it because it sort of, in my divorce, it sort of disappeared. But there's a point there, isn't there? When you're an entrepreneur, you've got to have a certain amount of liquidity. You've got to be able to get your hands on money. So I know certain people in my family are far more. They tie everything up, and when he needs some money, it's I can't get my hands on it. So it's about having a mixture of stuff that's out the way, earning some good money, but also you've got to have stuff that you get your hands on, haven't you?
Yeah. So if you think about it a bit like a pyramid, so what tends to happen with a lot of people, they'll build their pyramid like this. So the first thing is, I want to get on a housing ladder. I want to buy a house. So they'll save for a deposit, put all their money into a deposit, and take on a massive load of debt on top of that because they then got their property. And isn't that amazing? But it's a pyramid upside down, right? This is your money at the bottom, and then the rest of it is debt. The way that I like to try and help people is to do it this way. So we build a really nice solid foundation, first of all. So for instance, before I started my business, I set aside 2 years' salary that I had in my old job, so that I didn't approach customers thinking, oh my God, I'm not really that confident, innocent coming out, right? Oh my God, I'm not really that confident as a money coach yet. I'm just learning, but I really need this sale because if not, I haven't got enough money. Yeah, that desperation. So just calming that monkey brain. So always having enough liquid cash, even if it is losing money in the bank, just say maybe even 3 to 6 months, critical living expenses, set it aside. Then you can start investing. So you start investing for long-term growth, not trading, long-term growth. So we're thinking about minimum of really, honestly, 10 years, I would say. Even if you look at any markets, if you just look at 5 years, you can have really ups and downs. But if you look at it over 10 years, it gives you a much more balanced perspective. And then after that, if you want to start doing something, when you're starting to invest and you're building your portfolio up, you're building your wealth up, and then sure, have a bit of fun with some speculation on the top, which is playing about with money that you can afford to lose.
Very good. That summed up perfectly as we got pretty much bang on our half an hour again. So it's been fascinating. Really enjoyed it, Fanny.
Thank
So
you.
there's so much more to talk about with money and obviously motivation and the link with motivation. We haven't really didn't really sort of cover that. So we will be back again.
Well,
We
we did think about the link with motivation, because the whole
yeah
of the motivation bit is getting your right type behind the wheel.
yeah
That's the
yeah
motivation.
yeah we
Drive your
absolutely.
life
We didn't
purpose.
dive too much into that, but there's lots more we can talk about with regards to that. So it's been really
But listen,
interesting.
before we go,
Yeah,
'cause it's Evo week, isn't it, this
it
week?
is. Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and by the way, Thursday morning, you're coming along and you're going to be you're in the hot seat this week, aren't you? To talk about your
Yes, I am. Yeah.
etc. So I'm looking forward to that on Thursday morning. That's Evo Apollo.
hmm
And then we've also got Evo Women tomorrow, which I lead as well, which is a lunchtime thing between 12:30 and 2.
Yeah. All
So
online, so anyone anywhere in the world can come and
yeah,
join if you catch
come and
this.
find it.
Yeah.
Come and find it.
Uh,
And we'll be back next week and talk about something else.
we will definitely be back next week, back to our normal time, hopefully at 1 o'clock. This is a bit later than normal, but thanks for those that joined us, Steve and
Yeah,
Russ. And if you catch
yeah,
this on the replay, again, ask some questions if you've got anything, or come to the next one, or whatever you want to do. It'd be great
yeah.
if we hear from you, whichever way. So
And our
um,
website's coming up in a minute, aren't
at
they?
the end, you'll see how you can get in touch with myself and Fanny. Then, if that's what you want to do, then you could do that.
Take
So
them
I
to the
suppose we could
site.
do that. It's goodbye from me, and it's
Goodbye from him.
and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.